It's a little bit easier for the partner too then.
Right.
All right. Now we're moving into the application enhancements.
Always the most popular.
Yeah, you're especially in that mine, so you're going to hear a lot from Ken during this part. First one we got is new is the changes in synchronization between contact and customer. Ken, describe what it is, and I'll tell you my thought.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, this is one of like, it kind of in the weeds. You know, when you set up a customer, you set up a primary contact, and then there was functionality in there that would kind of keep those addresses and information in sync.
Right.
And that may not always be something you want to do, right? So what this does is it kind of changes that relationship between the customer and the contacts. And it changes the presentation on the customer card too. So you can kind of see that the customer has an address and information,
Mm-hmm.
and then you assign a primary contact
Gotcha.
to the customer.
So in my notes, I have thoughts. Is this good that this no longer syncs, though? I mean, is that a good thing?
Overall, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. So just because, you know, someone's phone number changes on a contact, that doesn't necessarily mean you want it to update on the synchronized record all the time.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
yeah, I think it is. It's something like, you know, why is it automatically updating that over here when I update it over there?
Okay.
So I think so.
All right, next up we've got the automatic creation of lot and serial number information cards. To me, it's a good thing. It basically just adds an option on the item tracking code to where you can turn it on or off.
Yeah. If I had to guess, and I could go confirm this, but I haven't had time. This is a feature request through the Business Central Ideas site that came up. So if that's the case, thank you, users. And if not, thank you, Microsoft. This is a dream come true for me.
Really?
Maybe a little hyperbole there.
Was this something found in that?
It is. This is a huge issue. So take a company that does lot tracking, right? And they do metals. So when they receive in a coil of steel, for example, you have a lot number for that coil, but you probably also have some other information about it. Maybe some chemical properties of it, the heat number, some other information. Okay. The lot information card, which is what this refers to, or it could be a serialized item, that's where you can add that type of information, store comments, add other fields. And up until now, the system did not, when you received in a lot of an item, it didn't automatically build those lot information records. So you couldn't track this other information. Now you check the box and say, yes, I want the system to automatically create a lot information record for me.
It'll track it all.
And now it builds that, so now I can go into there and track this other information.
Wow.
And it's so for those companies that do lot tracking or serial tracking, almost always they have some other related information that they want to store with those lot or serial numbers. So this is again on my favorites list here.
Nice, very nice. All right, next up we got assisted setup helps move the task of adjusting item costs to the background. My notes say that in the past, Microsoft suggested using job queue entries to move the tasks to run in the background to help increase the performance of Business Central. But I guess it was pretty complicated and kind of hard to do. So they're coming out with this then.
And this kind of, in a way, ties back to the one about allowing partners to help set up job queues. Mm-hmm. Right? They're saying, turn off real-time automatic cost adjustments, right? And go do it in the job queue.
Yeah.
Well, users didn't know how to go do that.
Right.
So what they've added is when you turn it off or uncheck those fields, set the field to never or uncheck the automatic cost posting, it launches a little wizard that walks the user through a couple clicks on setting up that job queue to run the adjust cost process on a nightly basis, for example.
And this is all geared towards performance, right?
Correct. Yeah, because every time you post a transaction that has to do with inventory, you can decide through the inventory setup, do you want the system every time you post something to run through the cost adjustment routine to make sure your costs are up to date and accurate? Or do you want to skip that step and maybe just only do it once a night? Because you really don't need it up to date throughout every day.
Gotcha.
Right. So yeah, it would boost the performance and speed up your posting process.
Because it's not running yet. Yeah. All right. Next up, more control over settings for default dimensions. I am respectfully going to defer to the specialist, Ken Sebahar.
Yes. So this is another favorite here. So my third, I think, favorite that we've gone through here. And again, user community, if you're responsible for this, thank you. Microsoft, if you're responsible, thank you. So here's the scenario in this case. So what you've been able to do up until now is define that a specific dimension code is required whenever you post a transaction, let's say to a certain GL account. Mm-hmm. But you really couldn't limit the user to which values could be selected. You just say that you can't, for example, let's say you have a GL account called warehouse supplies. You could go into the warehouse supplies GL account and say, you must specify a department code when you use this account. But that was about it. And it would just force the user to pick one. Now, what you can do is you can say, yes, a department code is required when posting to the warehouse supplies account, but you can only use certain departments.
Gotcha.
For example, you can't pick the sales and marketing department because that doesn't make sense. The sales and marketing doesn't have warehouse supplies. Mm-hmm. So you could go in and say only the warehouse and production departments are valid department codes for the warehouse supplies account.
That's pretty cool.
This is something, again, that people have been clamoring for years. So now we have this control in place where we can actually restrict and make sure, really eliminating errors and people accidentally picking the wrong departments.
I'm kind of surprised that that's not part of functionality that has already been.
As are most people when they hear that that's not. Right.
Pretty crazy.
Yep.
All right, next up, define lot sizes for various stages of production. I basically took this as it's now easier to define, the lot sizes on multiple pages. Yep. So you can say not only on your routing lines, but routing versions or the planning worksheet or production order routing itself. So on a per production order basis, you could say this is my lot size. So the batch size, if you will, of how many we want to be we're going to produce here. All right.
So.
Moving right along to simplified bank statement file import. I would imagine this one might make a lot of people that handle the finances pretty happy. So you can now import CSV or .txt bank statement files, and then so what you can do is then map the columns to the fields in Business Central. Am I understanding it right?
Yep. So at least in North America, there's no global standard for how a bank delivers an electronic file with transaction activity in it, right? For bank recs. This allows users to go in and actually do that mapping based on these file formats by themselves. So,
do you think there should be a global standard?
Absolutely. Right?
I mean,
why not? There should be a global standard for a positive pay file, an ACH file, bank statement, file downloads, all of these types of electronic communications. Now, there are standards out there, but what we found is that most banks have some sort of uniqueness to them.
Really?
Right? Different file structures and file formats that they're using.
So it makes it a little bit difficult.
We're marching towards the standard,
but
we're not there yet.
Gotcha. All right. Next, we got payment reconciliation journal improvements. Once again, I'm going to defer right to Ken for this one.
Yeah, so this was a feature that was put out maybe just a couple of years ago. They're adding some things like enabling preview posting in the payment reconciliation journal page, Also providing a separate number series to track your transactions through here, and user-defined document numbers. And then you can select multiple lines to transfer your differences to a journal. I'm not sure how relevant this is because I don't know how many people are actually using this feature. So if I had to guess, not that many, at least not in North America currently. But maybe I think down the road that'll be something that's. And again, as they make it more useful and add more features to it probably will be more widely adopted.
So what do you think about the next one up? Bank reconciliation improvements. Is that more relevant?
Absolutely. Well, everyone hopefully is reconciling their bank statements, right?
True. Hopefully, right?
Hopefully, And I think it seems, I'm going to tell you, every single release that comes out, there's an application improvement for bank reconciliation improvements, right?
Yep, everyone.
Because,
no doubt about it.
Because bank reconciliation is a difficult process for accounting people to do, so it has to be made simple. There's auto matching features, so it kind of helps show you how the matching is working. And one of the best things is you can now, so let's say you create your bank rec and you actually post it. You actually now can effectively do a correction. You can unpost your bank rec and then redo your bank rec.
Yeah.
And that's huge because up until recently or now, once you post the bank rec, it is posted.
So was that part of the minor major release? Or major minor?
That one I think relatively recently, yeah. So they're continuing to improve the bank rec, and that's a great
definitely. Next, we got dimension correction for GL entries, and I got here a new correct dimensions action on the general ledger entries page will allow you to correct dimensions on posted entries by editing the dimension value, adding new dimensions, or removing them.
Yeah. So what this says is you can now go to a GL entry, posted GL entry, and there's a new action to correct your dimensions. And right in there, you can go in and you can just change. Maybe someone posted that sale to the wrong customer group, which was set up wrong, or a department or something. You can go just edit the dimensions on a posted transaction. So you also can block corrections, right? Or so you could say, we do not want to allow users to go in and make corrections, right? So you can turn this off.
Yeah.
And you can also specify that corrections must respect closed accounting periods. So you could say, once we've closed the accounting period, you no longer can go back and make corrections. So only in open periods.